creatures of the night. It's your girl Tati. Let's talk about Ring of Honor. They did give us slightly over an hour show, and when I say slightly, I mean like the show was an hour and 5 minutes. We did start off with our minion overlord, along with Billy Starks coming out with two new security guards. They come out, and Athena's basically letting everyone know that the reason why they've been seeing her without her crutches and on her 2 feet is because the pure adrenaline in her soul has just gotten her to be on her own 2 feet. And it's not that she's healed or anything. However, since she's our forever Ring of Honor champion, she's going to still face Queen Aminata to retain her title, and she's going to whoop her ass. And Billy Stark, she's going against Red Velvet for the to retain her title as well. I do feel like they both are going to end up retaining, but we'll see. Honestly, I would actually. The storyline has been all right, but I would actually like to see them doing more and not doing much. Is kind of like killing me because I kind of feel like there are no titles in Ring of Honor at this point. I'm a little bored. Now, we do have our first match of the night. We do have Lance Archer and the Righteous versus Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. The Outrunners earlier in the show had ended up asking Dalton if they can join him, and Dalton is checking them out, seeing if they would be great partners. And they're over here flexing their biceps, looking like they are holding their breath, trying not to breathe, so that they can see every single muscle, every single vein popping out of those arms. It was so hilarious. And Dalton's just like, you know what? Fine. You guys can join me. They join them, and they're definitely of no help. Dalton Castle and the Outrunners end up losing the match. We do have the Righteous and Lance Archer. They've definitely been having more and more matches together. And these guys, they are interesting characters. I really wish they could do a lot more with them. And just watching them tonight, I was just like, damn, these guys could have literally been on Team AEW. They could have gotten some crazy unhinged guys to be part of Team AEW. And I think they would have been a really great fit. They're not necessarily heels. They're not necessarily baby faces either. But I think if they were to be in a part of a match like Blood and Guts, they probably would have been pretty useful. What was interesting after this match was Vincent getting all up in the camera talking about how they are coming for the tag titles. So he and Dutch look like they're having their eyes out on the tag titles, which is interesting that, Lance is in this group too, and they're keeping their eyes out on the tag titles instead of the trios titles, which is interesting because the trios titles is unified right now, and so far is vacant. On Collision, it will either be the Bang Bang Gang or it will be the Patriarchy. To either one of those teams will end up winning those titles, and I don't know if those titles will be featured on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view next week. So we'll see. But Vincent definitely has his eyes out on the tag titles so far. Up next, we had Red Velvet versus Maya World and a squash. Unfortunately, I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, the pay-per-view is a week away. Why should she be in a squash match? Matter of fact, I think our last few matches were squash matches. I just feel like there's not enough time to really give, especially people who are going for titles, time to show why they should be, getting these title shots. And for you to be in the ring for like 3 to 4 minutes tops, it's just not enough. We know Red Velvet is pretty entertaining, but I just feel like right before pay-per-view, no, she needs to be in the ring for quite some time. Maya World is a really great competitor. And yeah, I know she's not a Ring of Honor girl, but she's been on the show before. And they could have given them some time to, have a really great match. But unfortunately, it was just one of the squash situations. After this, we do have Evil Uno, who comes out in his shirt and tie. And he has his mask on, obviously. And he's talking about how he wants to face any of the biggest and baddest bitches back there. Well, something like that. He's basically just calling out whoever's out there in the back that wants to face him. He's going to whoop their ass and win. But then here comes his opponent, Shibata. And I'm just like, oh, shit, that's not good for you, bruv. Shibata pretty much wiped him around in that arena. It's not looking good for Evil Uno. It does last a little bit longer than the other matches that we had. However, Shibata is really trying to apply this armbar onto Evil Uno. Evil Uno's fighting it. He's fighting it. And he almost got it. He almost got the arm straightened out. And for whatever reason, Evil Uno, he doesn't tap or anything. He gets away. However, he's not well enough to continue. The referee stops the match. And Shibata's like, oh, I won? Okay, I'm going home. Yeah, it's okay. But isn't Shibata supposed to be hurt though? Isn't he supposed to have some arm injury? Is what they were talking about on Dynamite. When Brian Keith had hurt his arm and he's supposed to be home or whatever. Don't know what the situation is, but Shibata doing his own thing, I prefer it. After this, we do have the Cage of Agony versus three jobbers. And the first one to start up here is Toa Leona. I'm just like, Toa Leona can just do this match on his own and win. It's great to see this group together again. I feel like there's just been so many missed opportunities with this group. I just don't understand what's going on here. They took the trios title or 6-man tag titles away from these guys late last year. They put them back on them again just to give it to the elite and all this foolishness back and forth when really I think they were doing just fine. And here we are again. It kind of seems like every once in a while they bring these guys back out versus when they were champion, they were on the show damn near on a weekly basis and doing a lot of these matches were main events on Ring of Honor. And now we hardly see these guys. I mean, Brian Cage, totally on a Bishop Khan. Lord have mercy, Bishop Khan, give me a call. These guys are so talented. They really are. And unfortunately, it's like they just don't have time to put them on the shows, which is just wild to me. Cage of Agony obviously ends up taking the win, but we need to see more of these guys. These guys are absolutely just phenomenal in the ring. And unfortunately, we're just not seeing enough. Who knows? Maybe they could probably end up getting those 6-man tag titles back. Brian Cage maybe can go for singles titles, or Toa Leona and Bishop Khan can go for the tag titles. And for whatever reason, they're just not doing much with them. But it was great to see them. They all look great. Tony Khan put these guys on TV way more. And when I say put them on TV, we want to see them win, even on AEW. Oh, we did have a really interesting promo from Shane Taylor. Shane Taylor, who lives out in Houston, who is cutting a promo. He said he had recently experienced Hurricane Beryl, which was last week. That was last week, Monday, because it also came to my area as well a little bit later that day. He said that they had floods, they didn't have any power, his children were scared and hungry, and no one from AEW Ring of Honor gave him a call. No one seemed to have cared. And he goes on to say, if it was Mark Briscoe and his family in a hurricane, y'all would have called them. If it was Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly and them, y'all would have called them. But nobody called me. No one checked up on me. And I was just like, oh, this sounds like something that could have probably truly happened. And then he goes on to say, Mark Briscoe, you've been dodging me ever since I got here. And I'm just like, oh, snap. And basically, he's calling him out so that they can, have a match with each other. And while I do like the idea, we already do have Roderick Strong, who just earned his opportunity to go against, Chicken on next Friday. And I'm just like, damn, that would have been interesting to see those two at it. But I'm going to look at it like this. I personally don't see Roderick winning. However, now that we have something for Mark Briscoe to be doing after that match with Roderick Strong, it would be interesting to see an actual feud with Mark Briscoe, because Mark Briscoe has not had any feud. His last feud was with Claudio Castagnoli when Claudio was champion last summer. He was supposed to go against Claudio for Death Before Dishonor last summer, but then Mark Briscoe got injured and could not compete. And that was the last time we actually see Mark in an actual feud in terms of a title. So this time, it looks like we're going to get a feud with Shane Taylor. And honestly, I couldn't pick a better person, so I'm looking forward to it. After this, we do have Mackenzie Morgan versus Queen Aminata. Another squash, unfortunately. Queen Aminata ends up taking the win. It's just not enough to show why she should be champion. Now, she's my queen, all right? You don't got to prove it to me. However, in terms of people watching the show, not pretty much knowing any of who these people are, they will just feel like, oh, she had like a 3 minute match and that's it. What else can she do? Not enough time to show people what she's capable of doing in the ring. We do have a really great main event with Diamante and Layla Hirsch for the billionth time. This time it was a light out match, and we had tables, we had chairs, we had thumbtacks. Very interesting. This element to the match, them having this stipulation, was interesting because it's like it sets aside the other matches that they've had already. So he didn't kind of, even though we felt like, yeah, we've seen these girls in the ring together, it just felt a little bit different. And I think they did a great job. There was some time where there was slight miscommunication, like when Diamante goes to give a German suplex. She goes to give Layla Hirsch a German suplex on a pile of thumbtacks. She completely misses the whole pile, and Layla ends up ending on like an empty part of the mat. So now, for it to look like something happened, Layla ends up rolling onto the tags so that she can actually have them on her body. And I'm just like, oh my God, if only y'all would have just been like a foot or two to the right, y'all would have hit the pile. Another time, right before the finish of the match, they're both on the top rope, and there's one of them is supposed to get one or the other onto through a table. However, before they even go on the top rope, the table is so far away, and I'm just like, oh man, that table is way too far. Whatever they're going for is going to be really brutal and not in a good way. Someone's going to get hurt because that table is too far. They end up bringing it closer, and then you can kind of see that they're communicating with each other that the table is still too far away. They bring the table up close, and we do have Diamante putting Layla through the table. And Layla, she's smaller, she's shorter. Only her head and her neck ends up hitting the table. The rest of her body doesn't even touches the table. So that goes to show you, if the table was not moved, she would have probably completely missed the table, or maybe like the tip of her head might have probably hit the edge of the table. So it was a good thing that they ended up moving it, but man, that was brutal. And Diamante ends up taking the win. Is this feud over between the two of them? Maybe, hopefully. It kind of feels like there's not that many women in Ring of Honor at this point, but I do hope that any women that they're not using between both Ring of Honor and AEW, there's plenty of space. There's plenty of time to use these girls. I'm trying not to rip into Ring of Honor too much because the pay-per-view's next week. And also they do have some tapings that they're going to be doing, which I'm looking forward to go to all those tapings. And I want to see for my damn self, with my own two eyes, what changes that they're trying to make for Ring of Honor. I do appreciate Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor, but I do feel like there's so much more to be done. Tony Khan, give me a call if you need help with it. But we'll see what they end up doing in the next few weeks, because I do think that they're actually trying to make some changes. So we'll see. Guys, thanks so much for watching my review. I will be back tomorrow with Rampage. See you then. Bye.